Hey everybody, it's Amber with Amber Marie and Company, and today we're making this gorgeous fall wreath for your door using a wreath that you might already have. We're going to use a starter wreath and just add to it to make it amazingly over the top and gorgeous. Watch until the end where I show you how to make this amazing bow for your wreath. It's super simple, super easy, and you can do it at home. Find all of these products on our amazing website, ambermarieandco.com. Today we're going to show you how to make a fabulous fall wreath by starting with a wreath that has already some berries on it, but we're going to make it even more fabulous. So if you're shopping and you find a wreath that you absolutely love and you think is really cute, but it just doesn't have quite enough stuff on it, this is the video for you. Watch until the end so you can see the completed product, and this is going to be a gorgeous fall wreath for the front door. So I purchased this wreath. I love it. It's beautiful. It has lots of berries, but I want to add some pumpkins, some leaves, and some other things to make it look absolutely amazing. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First of all, the very first thing you're going to do, and this is probably the part of wreath making that takes the longest, is you want to fluff out this wreath. And by fluffing, I mean you're going to make it really look full and amazing. You're going to take every leaf and you're going to twist and you're going to turn and really make this come to life. So that is the very first step. Let's make this wreath come to life right now, and here's how you do it. So very first thing is, this wreath has some little curly cues like this. So this is all wired in this wreath, and I'm just going to start taking them just like this, and I'm going to pull and just curl. So I want this to look like a wild vine that is just growing straight out of this wreath and just coming to life right now. So I'm going to just start by twisting all of those pieces. Sometimes people will use a pencil or something to twist their vines around, but I just literally use a couple of fingers here, and then I will just pull it out as I see. So there we have those beautiful vines that started out really ugly and boring like this, and then we're making them pop and amazing and wow. Then I'm going to take every other piece of this wreath right here. So I have lots and lots of bright orange berries, and I love these berries, but they are very, very bright. So I'm going to pick some colors of leaves and pumpkins to kind of tone down those berries just a little bit. So I'm taking all of these berries and I'm just pulling them up. I'm taking them and separating them just a little bit from the wreath base, as you can see here. And you can be as particular as you want, or you can just go like it's growing wild, so it doesn't matter. Just bringing them to the surface, you can already see how this is going to make this wreath come alive. Every single stem, every single berry, everything, it just needs to pop and come to life right now. So I'm going to keep doing that all the way around this wreath, the whole entire way. What do you think about that, Winston? Now we have our wreath fluffed and ready to go. I'm going to start by selecting what part of the wreath I want to be the top and what part I want to be the bottom. So on this particular wreath, I've got two little sections of curlies right here and one little section of curly right here at the bottom. So that means if I wanted to put my bow at the top of this wreath, I have a really nice spot to stick that. And I think that that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to have, it's kind of like an upside down triangle, if you want to think of it that way. I have some of these little curlies down here, curly on this side, and I'm going to place my bow at the top center of this wreath because it's going to go on a door. What do you think about that, Winston? All right, so I have two pumpkins that I'm going to place on here, and this is really the magic. So I've got this cute little pumpkin right here. Look at that, it's all glittery, and it's made out of styrofoam. So it's going to go on here. And then I'm going to put this other really pretty glittery pumpkin. It's kind of a cream color. I'm going to put it on here too. So I'm going to place these two really cute pumpkins in my wreath. And this is where it gets really tricky because you have to find a really good resting place for them. And then you have to be able to hot glue and stick something into those pumpkins to make sure that they are going to stay. What I like to use is, I make wreaths all the time. So I'll take an old stem like this from a pick. Maybe I cut it down and it has wire in it. It's still wrapped. This is what I like to use I'll take these little guys right here. What do you think about that, Winston? You like those too? Yep. And I'll stick those into the pumpkins with lots of glue, and that is how I will make it all stay. Now, I'm going to look at my wreath in the totality of it. I'm going to want something kind of, I don't want to put both my pumpkins right in the center. I want to kind of make it a little bit off-center. So I think I might start here with my orange pumpkin here, a little bit higher, and then I'm going to come down with my cream pumpkin right about here. So they're kind of almost falling out of my wreath. Okay? So the best way to do that is, I've got my orange pumpkin right here where I want it. I'm going to take and move some of my little berries around because I don't want to hide all my pretty berries. I'm going to poke this into my pumpkin going into the wreath down here. And this is one of the ways that we're going to hold that pumpkin into place. And I'm getting it nice, and I'm really sticking it hard and getting it in there. Okay, so there's one way that pumpkin is going to end up staying in there. So I've got that in there. I'm going to come back with my glue gun, and I'm just going to go in and just right down in here, I'm going to just add a little bit of glue to make sure that little guy is going to stick in there real good. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing. No eating berries. No, 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 no eating berries. I'm going to do the same thing and kind of stick it in through the back side as well. So I have something right down here supporting. No, no. What in the world? No. I'm going to do the same thing from the back to support that pumpkin as well. So I'm going to bring in my stick from behind like this and come in behind my pumpkin as well. All right, so I've got to get some glue on the end of that. And although I'm putting glue on the end of this and it's going through that wreath, I might have to end up putting just a little bit more glue on later, but that's okay. So I'm going to get it in there real good. I'm pushing that in there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm coming back with my hot glue gun, and I'm just going to really secure that in there real well, so I know that that pumpkin is not going anywhere. That pumpkin is staying right in place, right there where I have it. Always add a little glue to the back of it just to make sure got it all in there right where I want it. And now we have our first pumpkin is secured and in there ready to go. Now let's add the second one. Now sometimes I like to take pumpkins that are not exactly the same size because it just adds a lot of variation to your wreath. But these two pumpkins happen to be the same size. I'm gonna find like a pretty good resting spot right here in between the two of them. And I'm gonna make sure that when I hold this up, that's the look that I like right there. So see, I've got a pumpkin kind of cascading out. I'm gonna come in with some extra glue. I always like to shoot a lot of extra glue up in there just to make sure that that pumpkin is not going anywhere. So I'm gonna press it into my wreath just a little bit and hold it to secure it just for a few seconds, because this is going to be on my front door, and people, I hope I have lots of visitors. So if I have lots of visitors, that front door is going to open and close a bunch. So I want that really nice and secured in there. Same thing with my orange pumpkin. Just going to come in and just put some dabs of glue anywhere around. And I'm going to take this little stem and I'm going to poke it right in there. And then I'm going to take this stem, I'm going to push it right in there together. And that just gives it a little something to hold on to each other. And I'm going to let that dry for just a few minutes so it's nice and secured together. And you know, one thing is, you don't have to worry about whether the glue shows or not, because we're going to put leaves and different things up in here and you will never see the glue. So that's why I always tell people, I tell you, just glue it like crazy. Secure that in, because you won't see the glue. And that's your safety net. That's what's holding these items all in place. So when in doubt, add more glue always, I say. Okay, that feels pretty secure and nice. So now this is what we've got going on. We have these two pumpkins right here, kind of just coming out of our wreath. And that look cute so far. And now we're going to add all of the beautiful fall leaves and some florals to just really make it gorgeous and pop. So here we go, on to step, I guess it would be step 3 right here. Some really pretty leaves right here from the shop. This is all from Amber Marine Company. Everything you see here, the pumpkins, everything. And I'm going to take these little leaves, and you can keep them if you want to just make it a really quick project. You can fluff these leaves out and you can just kind of stick them in as a whole branch, or you can take them and cut them up, and that just gives you a little bit more flexibility of where you can use these stems. So I'm going to take this cutter right here, I'm clipping that down just a little bit, and then I'm going to take some of these other stems, I'm just going to clip them off as well. So I took this one branch and I clipped it into 3 different branches, okay? And I'm going to save this little piece right here for later, because again, maybe I want to add another pumpkin or something else to another wreath, and I always like to have those because it's free. You've already paid for it when you paid for your stems. So I'm going to take, first of all, with this big, and I'm going to, this big branch is going to be kind of my base that I want to create out of with our leaves. So that's where I'm going to just kind of stick this and look and see how I want the shape of my wreath to be. Do I want this to come around, or do I want it to come out and down, kind of like it's cascading out of my wreath? And that always depends on too, how much room you have on your door. Do you have a big door? You know, is it a single door? Is it double doors? What do you have? Because I have a lot of room and I have a big front door. So I really want this wreath to be big, amazing, and really cascading out and down. So I'm going to take my first pick, as I just kind of stuck it in there, you guys saw, just to see where I liked it. I'm going to dip it in my glue pot and get lots of glue. And I keep one of these in my glue pot here too, guys. So you'll see, sometimes I just want to really dab a lot of glue on that stem. And again, my glue is the consistency of honey. So it's nice and thick. Sometimes I let it just dry just a second, trying to avoid all those strings. I'm going to take it right down here under one of my pumpkins, and I'm sticking it into the base of my wreath. And again, this grapevine wreath is very tightly wound, so you got to really give it some effort when you stick it in there. I'm going to have that leaf come cascading down out of my pumpkins this way. Okay, so that's one base start. And I'm going to take my other stem, I'm going to cut it just the same way I cut this one, or close to. Okay, so I'm going to take my wire cutters here. These are not the right wire cutters, but this is what I'm using today. And I'm going to cut off just a couple of branches right down here. I'm going to cut this one off. Just clipping, clip this one. Okay, and I'm going to take this nice little bundle right here, and I'm going to have it coming right up here on the other side. So if you can think, I'm kind of making my wreath at an angle here. It's going to come up and down this way. I'm going to add my glue to it, lots of glue. Okay, come up here, stick that under my pumpkin right there, and that's where my flowers are going to be, up here, up top, all my fall leaves, starting right there. What do you think about that, Winston? Am I interrupting your snoozing time? Huh? Sorry about that, doggy. But we're making, Winston. We got lots of things going on. All right, so I've got leaves kind of coming down this way. Now I'm going to take these little ones right here, the little clips that I clipped off earlier, and I'm just going to kind of just fill in a few spots. I'm putting some glue on that right there, and I'm just going to try to fill in some spots right down here, so particularly around where my stems are for my pumpkins. I'm going to put that in there. Okay. I'm going to take one and have a leaf coming out this way on my pumpkins. It's going to give a little dimension and background. So isn't that coming together really nicely? Lots of beautiful leaves coming out. We've got some dimension on this, which I think is looking really, really good so far. I've got one more leaf stem that matches these, and I like to save this until the end, just in case I have a little hole or somewhere where I feel like ooh, this just needs a little bit more. So I always save one till the end to see where I think I might need just a little more something. All right, I also have some other little bushes here that I'm going to add for a pop of color. So you can see this is really great. It has berries, it has just some different little foliage on it that's gonna look really good in my wreath. So I'm gonna take this bush, and I love to buy fall bushes because you get so many great clippings from them. And I have 2 of these. So I'm just gonna clip, clip, clip all of these strands apart. Every single one of them. You can see here, I'm just clipping all of those apart because we're going to use these and spread them out to really make this wreath look like it's growing. And then the other thing that I'm going to add are these really pretty sunflowers. Look how pretty that is. This is going to look really good for just some pops of floral and color on my wreath. And then I'm going to come in with this kind of a cattail bush too, just to add some interest and variation. So I've clipped my first little bush here for fall, and I'm just going to take this, I'm going to dip it right here in some glue. I'm going to get a really good base on that, and I'm just going to start adding this to my wreath in different places. So all I'm doing with this is just adding a little more color, a little more texture, and I'm just going in and just adding this all around because, again, like I said, we want some of that color of a different variation of leaf. We don't want all of our leaves looking the exact same color. So I'm adding just a little bit of something different here to this, just to make us have some beautiful coloration. Okay, and then I can't forget too that I want to put a lot down here around the bottom part of this pumpkin, because this is the base of our wreath right here. This is where everything's going to be kind of cascading down. So I want lots of leaves covering the bottom portion of our wreath right here. So I'm going to add more leaves right down here. And I just keep adding and adding. You know, you can always stop at any point when you feel like, you know what, that's it, or I've run out of stems, I've run out of product, this is all I have. Stop, it's great. Or you can keep going. If you've got more and you just love to create and decorate, then I say keep going. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just adding more of this beautiful color of leaf and variation, and I'm just going to keep going around and around until I feel like it's full and it's reached the fullness that I want for my creation. And I don't have a huge rhyme or reason to where I'm placing these. I'm just placing it where I see it needs the color. And that's what's great about this. You know, you're not trying to please anybody else with this. You're just trying to make it look good and what you like. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just adding all of those leaves in exactly where I see I need a pop of color. And the other thing is too, is I want to come up on this side just a little bit higher on my wreath, because we've got really heavy on this side with our pumpkins and everything. So I'm going to add a few more branches of leaves over here to kind of start climbing up this side. And that might be where I use this very last one. I don't know yet. So lots of leaves added to this. I think it's looking nice and full. I'm going to come in and add some of my sunflowers next. So I'm going to cut on here my sunflower stems off of this bush. These are really pretty. I love on this the color variations that each flower has. I think it's really pretty, very natural looking. And I'm going to cut several of these off here of this stem, and then I'm just going to place them around my wreath where I feel like it's going to look the prettiest. Okay, I've got this little stem. I'm going to save that for later because you just never know when you're going to need that. Same thing with that little guy. So I've got several flowers here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 sunflowers, and I can use those throughout this whole entire wreath. And I just have to decide what kind of a pattern I want with these. If I'm going to start having my sunflowers kind of grow and grow up on this side, and then kind of do the same thing and mix them in. That's one of my favorites, is just to mix those sunflowers in. So I'm going to do that right now. And usually I'll try to kind of bunch them in areas of 2 flowers. So I've kind of got one up here. I'm going to take my next flower, and sometimes I have to remove these bottom leaves, but I save those because I can use those later. Okay, so I'll save those, get lots of glue on there. And like I said, I like to try to bunch these kind of in twos, but they don't have to be exactly together. So I've got one kind of growing up, one kind of growing down, and I'm going to do the same thing with probably two more on this side. Taking off that bottom leaf to use for later. I've got a nice long stem right here, so I'm going to poke this one up really high, kind of growing up and out of my wreath over here on this side. Got lots of height on that one, which is really cool, really pretty. And I'm going to take one more and kind of have it growing right down here, just to split this safe the distance there. And what's nice about these flowers too is, as you saw, I poked that in there, and then what I'll do is, you know, some flowers follow the sun during the day, right? So I'll take that and I'll place it in my wreath, and it's wired, so then I just bend it forward where I want that to go, because that's the nice thing about having wire on all of your florals. Poking that stem right down there into the grapevine wreath, then I'm twisting it and having it come up like it's just growing straight off of that grapevine. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. Coming around my pumpkins over here. Got a really great spot right there for one. Let's see, I've got two more. Okay. I'm just filling these in. Like, you know, you can see I don't have an exact pattern. I don't have an exact placement of where I want all of these to go. I just want it to look like it's growing wild, right? So that is, and if you can see here, look, I dripped some of this glue on here. Not to worry, we just let that dry, and then we come back and we just peel it off. So don't worry if you have some glue drippings, it's okay. We can always fix that later. I'm gonna scoot this over because I don't want the poochie to get his nose burned on some of my glue here. What do you think about this wreath so far, Winston? Do you like it? He likes the berries off of it, I know that much. Okay, so I'm gonna take this pretty flower right here, and this is my last sunflower. Now I do have some extra stems of this, because I always like to buy extra just in case. I'm gonna take this little guy, and it's gonna be my tallest one right over here. Stick it up and out. Actually, maybe I need to place it. I'm moving it. Bring it right up in here, so it's growing out the very top, right up here. And I think I found where I want to put my last leaf. I think I'm going to put it right up here, just to grow that up just a little bit more. Then I can place my bow right over here on the opposite side. And again, I don't place my bows first. I like to place my bows at the very end on most of my wreaths, because I like to just let the form naturally take shape as I'm creating. And then at the end, I can say, okay, this is where I think my bow needs to go. So there, I've got some pretty leaves there. And now the very last thing is going to be adding some of these really cool cattails. I don't have to. This has plenty in it. It looks beautiful. It's looking nice and full, but the cattail will just add a little bit of interest. So I might just use some of these and then save the rest for another project. I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to randomly place them in different spots, just sticking that glue down in there and letting that cattail just kind of grow out. Again, you have texture, lots of different texture on this wreath, which is what I think looks so good. Lots of different colors as well. So just have those cattails just kind of coming out in a few places, just to make this look nice and interesting. Tuck one in there. Maybe just one more on the other side. Just come up in here and just stick one coming right out there. Perfect. All right, let's see if my glue has been dried. Now, yep, I'm just peeling it off, just like that. Just peel it off the back of that flower. You don't have to worry about it. And then you can take that leaf and twist it to the back. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna save the rest of these little cattails. If I get my wreath up on my door and I feel like I need another spot, sometimes I'll bring some of the extra things that I've left and I'll replace them. I'll always take and twist all the leaves so that they're facing forward and I see the pretty side of them. That's kind of a last, that's like a last touch. The very last touch that I'll do is taking all of that. If you have glue strings that are hanging out everywhere, you literally take a hair dryer, a blow dryer, and just put it on the high setting for a minute and shoot that, and it will just melt those little glue sticks away, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so what do you guys think so far? I think it's looking beautiful, and I can't wait. The finishing touch is going to be putting the bow right over here, and we're gonna get to that here in just 1 second. Okay, so we have our wreath complete, almost. We have one last step, and that is to add what I like to call the crown jewel of the wreath, and that is our bow. So there's nothing like a good black and white check, maybe some of this that says welcome, which is really cute, and then this which ties it all in together. So we're gonna use 3 ribbon styles. So I'm going to take out my Easy Bow Maker here, and I'm going to use this. This is available at ambermarieandcompany.com, and I'm telling you, it's the best $19.99 that you are going to spend. I've got my amazing scissors here, super sharp, ready to go. I've got 2 pieces of floral wire in green, and then I've got some needle nose pliers. So there's a lot of different ways to make bows. I'm going to show you a pretty quick and easy way right now to make this bow and get this project finished. I'm going to start by placing my ribbon right here on this little spool. It just keeps my ribbon from rolling off the table and onto the floor, just like, what's that song? The meatball that rolls off the table and onto the floor and then out the door and all that stuff. Ribbon does exactly the same thing. So we're going to keep that from happening. I'm going to measure my tails on my ribbon. I always like to start, the Easy Bow Maker right here, it actually has numbers on it, and you can just measure exactly the same every time when you are making your loops, when you're making your tails. So that's my tails going to start. I always like to start my tails a little bit longer because I can always cut them shorter, but I can't make them longer once I have it on the bow. So I'm going to start by taking and twisting my ribbon right here. So it's literally just a twist to put into the bow maker right here. And what the bow maker does is act like a third hand basically for me. My hands hurt from pinching the ribbon and holding it for a long time, so I like the bow maker because it pinches and holds it for me. All I have to do is measure out my bows and it holds it and does the rest. So I'm going to start with, I want a 6-inch bow right here, a 6-inch loop. So I'm going to come over, I'm going to measure my 6 inches, and when I do that, I'm going to twist my ribbon, and I'm twisting my ribbon, get on the 6-inch mark. I'm going to twist my ribbon because I want the pretty side up. This is the pretty side, right? So I'm twisting my ribbon. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to take my ribbon. Got to keep that guy down. I'm coming over here to the 6-inch mark, putting my finger right there. I'm going to take and bring my ribbon right in here, and I'm going to twist to come up from my second loop on this side, right? So both of these should be right at 6 inches, and they are, and I'm just literally going to repeat this process over and over again. I'm twisting that ribbon because I want the pretty side up on my bow. Coming over here, doing the same thing, go out to 6 inches, bring it in. Once I know where it's at, I'm going to twist that up. And on this bow, for this cute little black and white check pattern, I'm going to do 3 on each side on the loops to start out with, because I'm doing several, I'm doing over 3 styles of ribbon. And when you're picking your styles of ribbon, it's important too to know you want to look at texture, you want to look at color variation, all of that, whatever's going to really pop on your wreath. That's important when making your ribbon selections for your bow. So There we go, I have 3 loops on each side. I'm going to come down with this little guy. I've really twisted my ribbon up quite a bit there. I'm going to just check it and measure it with my other tail, clip it off, and now I have the very first layer of my bow complete. I'm going to kind of just move all of my loops on my bow around about where I want them. They won't stay perfectly, that's okay. We're going to fluff it at the very end, so we're not too concerned about that. But I like to have a general idea of where all my loops are, make sure they're all nice and twisted and facing up, just kind of how I want them. I'm going to come in with this really cute burlap looking welcome ribbon, and I like this because it's fall and I'm going to have this wreath on my door for quite a while, so I want all my guests to feel welcome when they come in. Putting my spool right over here, and I don't have to go crazy on the welcome ribbon, it's just enough to show my guests that they're welcome. So I'm just going to put a couple of loops on each side. I'm measuring these also the same 6 inches. So I just measure with my other loop. Then I make that little twist. Try to get that twist nice and tight in my bow maker. Pretty side up, that's why we're twisting right here. And do the same thing over again. Okay. Make my little twist, and on this round or this layer of ribbon I'm only making 2 on each side, so got 2 on each side. Measure out my tail approximately the same as my other tail, and I'm just going to take these and twist these, kind of put them up where I want them, or at least close to in my wreath. So I've got the black and white check, I've got this cute little welcome ribbon welcoming all my guests in. Now I'm going to do a 3rd layer, and this layer is to kind of bring in both styles. I've got the black and white check, and then I've got that burlap in the middle. So I'm going to move this ribbon over. Now I'm going to take my small 1-inch ribbon right here, and I'm just repeating the same process. So once you get it down, it's super easy. The only difference is I'm going to make this loop a little bit shorter. So I'm going to go to the 4-inch mark. So I'm looking at my bow maker. This is at the 4-inch mark. I'm doing all of the same twisting and measuring. I'm just going at 4 inches instead of 6. And once you get 1 loop done on each side, you can just measure the loops that way. And on this, I'm going to do 3 loops on each side. Like that, just measuring them all so that they're all the same on each side. 1 more loop right there. Come in, clipping my tail about the same spot as the others. Okay, so now I have all my loops, 3 loops here, 3 loops on the other side. And here, make sure everything's nice and tight. That is one of the secrets to a nice bow, is making sure everything stays right tight in the middle, because that's what's going to make your bow poof the best. I'm going to move this over to the side, and now since I'm putting this bow on a wreath, I'm going to use floral wire. Taking my little stick of floral wire here, I'm going to go ahead and put it in under the bow all the way. And then to make sure my bow doesn't slip, I'm going to go ahead and put that wire around just slightly. So when I pull all of this ribbon, I've got it, I'm moving that wire so that it's directly in the middle. Moving my wire around to the back here. I like to use zip ties on this, but I also will use floral wire too. So I've got the wire right here, pinched in between 2 fingers. I'm going to take my needle nose pliers, get the glue strand off there, and I'm just going to take those pliers and I'm going to twist that wire and pull as tight as I can, because I want the center of that bow to be nice and tight. So I'm taking and I'm twisting and pulling just the wire. I want it nice and tight to hold that bow in place, to hold my ribbon, oops, right where I want it. Okay, so now I have my bow complete using my bow maker. And the last thing I'm gonna do is put this bow on my wreath. And then once I get it on my wreath, I'm gonna move everything where I want it. I don't generally do that before I put it on, because in the process of putting this bow on my wreath, I'm probably gonna smash it. I'm gonna put my finger somewhere and move all of the loops. So I'm going to just take it. I'm gonna take these two little wires here. I'm gonna decide exactly where I want it on my wreath, which I'm thinking I'm gonna go right here at the very tip top. And I'm gonna come around, and I'm gonna take my bow, put it right where I want it, and I'm gonna take those wires, stick it through the wreath, and then attach it just like that. Spreading everything out just like this. Then the last step is to literally take your scissors and then cut your tails and dovetail just like this, all of your ribbons at the end, because that gives your wreath a nice finished look when you dovetail all of those right at the end. Just fold that up, clip it to the corners. Fold it up, clip to the corner. And there you have it, a beautiful welcoming wreath for fall for your front door. It's so easy to do, and we showed you how to take a existing wreath that already has some berries, adding to it, adding the pumpkins, adding the bow, and making something that was beautiful to amazing.